This is the J. Scott Outdoors podcast on Western big game hunting and fishing, brought to you by GoHunt.com Insider. Research faster, hunt more. Go to GoHunt.com/insider and join today. I'm your host, Jay Scott, and I live and breathe hunting and fishing, spending half the year in the field experiencing God's creation. I hope you'll enjoy hearing about our adventures. Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we've got a really cool episode with Zac Griffith of Summit Productions, and we're going to learn a little bit about nutrition and fitness and get to hear some of Zac's hunts and some of his upcoming hunting schedule and what have you. So going to be a great episode. I wanted to remind you that Go Hunt Insider's January giveaway, 40 winners, 40 Go Hunt Insider members this month will win a $100 gift certificate for the custom ammo of their choice from Double Tap Ammunition. And Go Hunt over the last several months has given away 10 coues sleeping bags, Sunto watches, elk hunts, mule deer hunts, antelope hunts. They gave away a $22,500 Dall sheep hunt. In October, they did a coues deer hunt. 2 insider members won coues deer hunts just for being a member, an insider member. You're entered into the drawing each month, and 2 of these coues deer hunts are with Dar Colburn and myself in Sonora, Mexico during the rut, and hopefully we'll be able to get back from Mexico and report a good trip. And I just want to thank GoHunt.com for their sponsorship of this podcast. They're the title sponsor of this podcast. And I've gotten a few questions on the additional sponsors. I just want to be clear that when you're using these promo codes, use the word JScott. It's all one word. In the case of phonescope.com, it's JScott16 and receive 10% discount on all purchases at Phonescope. Utah Hydrographics, it's JScott16 promo code, 10% up to a 10% discount using that promo code. Wilderness Athlete is the promo code is JScott, all one word, 10% off any orders in January 2016. Western Hunter and Elk Hunter magazines. If you go to westernhunter.net/J or JScott, all one word, and you enter your email address, you will have a chance to win a $1,500 credit towards any Swarovski product. The Outdoorsmans use the JScott, so all one word, to get 10% off all Outdoorsman's packs and pack accessories until February 28th. If you call on the phone, 1-800-291-8065, obviously just tell them you're using the JScott promo code there at the Outdoorsman. So, guys, I want to thank these sponsors for stepping up and supporting this podcast. I put a lot of time into this podcast and try and make it as informative and educational as possible. And so, everybody's time is valuable, and I hope you guys understand by getting these sponsors, it makes my job easier, and it makes my job worth my time and value, and I hope you guys see this podcast as a great value. I get emails every day from listeners telling me about their hunts, asking me questions, and giving the podcast praise, and some constructive criticism as well. And guys, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear how you're doing. I'd like to, if you have any questions, please email me at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. You can follow along our adventures, jscottoutdoors.com, on Instagram at jscottoutdoors, and Facebook JScott Outdoors, YouTube JScott Outdoors, and my associate Dar Colburn on Instagram at Dar Colburn. Guys, like I said, thank you so much for your support. It's overwhelming. It's humbling every day to hear how much you guys like the podcast, and we're going to do our best here to just keep the pedal down and keep some great information coming to you. If there's people you'd like to hear on the podcast, let me know, and I will try and oblige. So, guys, let's get right to the episode. On iTunes, it sure helps if you can give us a great rating, 5-star rating, and leave positive comments. That helps our placement on iTunes. And guys, thanks. Let's get right to the episode with Zac Griffith. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have a real special episode with Zac Griffith of Summit Productions. And I've watched Zac's videos over the years, and this guy continues to kick out good content, and I'm excited to have him on the show. And maybe he'll play a little bit of music for me in the background. I get pumped up listening to some of his rap music. I'm not a rap music fan, but I like some of the videos, and I like the vibe. So Zac, how you doing?
Excellent, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on today. And, one of the things people know you from, Zac, is your YouTube videos. And I wanted to ask you a little bit of a background on how you started filming your hunts, and you've become a big YouTube presence and what have you. Tell me about it.
Well, I believe it or not, I went to college. I have a 4-year degree in broadcast journalism. So my initial intent was to go into sports broadcasting and cover play-by-play, and I did all of that at Utah State University for college sports and ran the college sports show there. After college, I just found more lucrative career choices, so I kind of got away from it. About 7-8 years after I graduated, my tax accountant and I were talking, and we were going over some tax strategies and seeing how much money I was spending on hunting. He says, you ought to try to create some type of profitable venture where you can actually, monetize your hunting in a way where you can, expense all of your hunting expenses and write them off tax-wise, and then also generate a revenue stream because it's obviously something you're passionate about. So having a basic video production background, I started buying cameras and optics and started trying to film my hunts. And it's funny, with a college degree, I learned more in 2 weeks self-filming hunts and editing them and seeing my final product than I did in my 4 years in college, just because, I had a lot more vested interest. It was more of a passion for me. It wasn't like a homework assignment. It was more like I really wanted to improve my content, and I wanted to step up the videos. And then the second thing was I felt in college, I was just in a mundane, monotonous classroom, whereas with hunting, I had a lot of resources. For example, just like the videos you and your partners have put out in the past, all of your elk hunting films, and were huge inspirations to me. I watched a lot on how you frame shots. I listened to your voiceovers, and got a good vibe for what I wanted to do without copying. I wanted to kind of do my own thing, but take a lot of inspiration from a lot of the content that was already existing. So that's how Summit got started. The Summit Productions LLC was just literally started to create a business, and we didn't know where it would go or how it would grow, but that's what it was to start. And so I kind of changed the route a little bit, and went to YouTube, went to apparel sales and partnerships with different affiliate marketing and stuff like that to generate revenue streams. But for the main gist of it is it's a film production company, and that's where it all started. So,
yeah, I watch from time to time, and you kick out some good stuff. I want to hit on something that you said there that kind of resonated with me. I'm in the real estate business, and you go to all the marketing classes in college, and you go to all of the, different sales clinics and what have you, and you go to real estate school, and you go through and get all your hours, and you take the tests, and you do all that, and you basically get out and you have a real estate license. You have no idea what you're doing, and you say,
yeah.
In the first 2 weeks of just jumping into it, I can see a parallel path there with my real estate business. Basically, once you become licensed, you dive in, and you learn very, very quickly, or else you get swallowed up by real life out there. And so I thought that was interesting that you mentioned that. We've got very similar passions in that You like coues deer and mule deer, and I've never been on an ibex hunt, but I would assume from a optical standpoint, from a glassing, a spot and stock, what kind of sparked your interest in that style of hunting?
Ibex in particular?
No, just kind of the glassing mentality to spot them up and go get them type of mentality.
That's a great question. I grew up hunting in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I didn't even own a pair of binoculars until I was 20. Mule deer in the high country are very easy to find, and I'm sure you know that. You killed tons of them, but they're easier to spot in those high basins. Their little rumps stand out like a light bulb, and I never needed to look for them because I knew where they were and where they'd be. I moved to Arizona in 2005, and I found out it was extended archery hunt all the way into January, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. There's mule deer out here in the desert. And I started hunting like I would in Utah. I went as high as I could on the highest mesas, and all I saw was these little whitetails running around everywhere. I never saw muleys, and I wasn't impressed by the coues deer at all. They didn't even get me going. I was seeing small deer, yearlings and forkies and stuff, and so I just didn't get too interested in them. But I started hunting the flats because I had heard that's where they're at out in the saguaro flats, and started glassing for muleys, getting on knobs early, and just using my cheap Nikon glass that I had bought because I didn't know the value yet. But basically, to make a long story short, I ended up getting some Swarovski 1556s. I got a good tripod, and immediately I started seeing deer. And so I learned that style of hunting by living in Arizona, because I'm telling you, as a guy that grew up in Salt Lake City, you guys are the pioneers of that. Get high, glass big, find and locate animals with your optics. And I learned so much, and I grew so much as a hunter. I mean, you hone your skills to a different level in the arid deserts because there's just such low animal densities that if you don't get high in glass, you will not see anything. And I mean, you've got to have the 15s to do it. And I remember I bought those Swaros, and I was driving home with them on my car seat, and I buckled the seatbelt around, and I was so I could not believe I just spent $2,000 on a pair of glass. But man, you throw them on a tripod, and all of a sudden deer just start appearing. And man, the day is so much more enjoyable, and the hunts are so much more successful. And it's just the way to hunt, man. You get high in your glass, and I've learned so much from that. And so I've adapted that to everything, whether it's ibex, whether it's coues deer, muleys, antelope. I glass way more than I walk now because that's what the glass does. It's the advantage to it.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those quote unquote eye openers when you sit someone down that's typically a walk 'em up type of hunter, and you sit them down and you tell them they have to sit there for a minimum of 2 hours and basically have to look at everything in their view and then tell you what they see. And I've never done that to anybody and not had them just go, I can't believe all of the things that we're seeing.
Yep.
And I think it's it's a reminder to all of us, even people that use binoculars and sit down in glasses. There's always more that you can look at, and you can always crawl up to the next knob and poke around and see what you can dig up. And it's very easy to think that you can just, there's nothing here, and walk down the ridge when you just walked by a buck that was bedded or what have you. Zac, I want to back up just a little bit, get a little bit of biography on you. You grew up in Salt Lake City, so I would assume you're a skier or a snowboarder, and I assume with the passion you have for hunting and the style at which you go about it, you were a pretty hardcore athlete and skier, snowboarder, etc. Talk to me a little bit about growing up in Salt Lake and what you did with your time then.
Yeah, I grew up, obviously winters were spent skiing. I mean, there's really good discounts for students and stuff. And I have some fond memories of my dad dropping me off at the bus stop in the 6 a.m. in the middle of the winter, and we'd ride the county transportation up to the chairlift, ski all day and ride out, and our parents would pick us up after work. I mean, it's just a part of life here. It's a very cultural thing, and I grew up just skiing Big Mountain, and I miss it severely, but it got really expensive, and I found other hobbies and passions to pursue. I grew up playing baseball and basketball in high school and college, and just, I'm very competitive in nature, mostly with myself. trying to just, improve and outdo my previous results. So, all of that translates into hunting, not in the sense that hunting's a competition, but more just you've got to push yourself and never be complacent. There's always improvement to make, and I feel like you'll enjoy your time more when you're rewarded for your efforts, and inside that, I put forth that extra bump this year, and I yielded this, great buck as a result. Whether there's a correlation between the two, it's not always there, but psychologically for your mind, it's appealing to me to feel like I earned things. So that's where my sports and my fitness side of things has always correlated directly with hunting. It's like, the harder you work, the luckier you get, the more successful you become. And I feel like that's kind of a universal life principle. So.
At GoHunt.com, we are committed to being the best at what we do, and we take pride in putting ourselves in the customer's boots. The old way wasn't working, so we came up with a new way to give you access to the best draw odds you'll find anywhere. Our dedicated team of data scientists and hunters have gathered information from all over the western United States to provide you with the most accurate odds ever. Select a state, the species you're looking to hunt, the season you're looking to hunt, and even compare the probability of drawing to other units. You'll be given the most reliable draw odds in the industry, period. So don't let your boots get stuck in the mud. There's a new way of doing things. Visit GoHunt.com/insider and join the movement.
Use the J. Scott promo code when signing up and receive a $50 coues gift card. Wilderness Athlete is committed to improving the health and quality of life for the outdoor athlete by providing field-tested, scientifically validated nutrition and sports performance product formulations. Check them out at wildernessathlete.com and use the J. Scott promo code to receive 10% off any order in January 2016.
Yeah, how was we're right at the end now of December, and I'm curious how your 2015 season was from start to finish, and maybe some of the highlights and what you learned the most coming out of the season, and as you reflect into the new season, kind of what you're thinking about.
Well, 2015 was without a doubt the worst season I've ever had as far as success is concerned. I didn't have as much money financially. I didn't have as many good tags. I usually try to pick up a landowner tags for antelope and Colorado late season muleys, and I had an elk tag I had to sell in Mexico. I mean, they're just one thing after another was just falling through on the financial side of things. And I'm sure you understand, that's a big part of hunting is, to get out there and hunt out of state, you need extra, financial support. So if things are tight, you got to stick with the local general over-the-counter tags. And moving back to Utah this year, I mean, I've hunted here every year, but I haven't hunted it for 3-4 months straight. So I kind of had a learning curve. I had to find new areas. Utah has very liberal archery seasons, a lot like Arizona does. You can hunt extended archery here right along the Salt Lake Mountains, Wasatch Front, from literally September till the end of November. So the opportunity was there for me. The problem is it's just very unforgiving terrain. It's extremely high elevation. You're looking from 9,000 to 11,000 feet, high alpine, heavily hunted. It's over the counter, so there's a lot of public pressure. There's a lot of hikers in the area, just mountain enthusiasts that are non-hunters. The deer are very, very, very wise and old, and just like any high country muley, they're very tough to kill, spot and stalk. And I'll be honest with you when I say that I've never hunted harder physically, psychologically, emotionally than I did this year. And I never even let an arrow go. One day in Utah in almost 100 days, not full days, but just 100 attempts on the mountain. It was well over, the effort I expended was the most I've ever done in my life. And I never even had a legit opportunity. Granted, I was holding out for a couple of bucks that I felt were in that 200-inch range, and I wanted to kill an old deer, and I had my target bucks, and I feel like definitely could have killed other deer, but I've just gotten to the point where I just want to challenge myself, and I've settled plenty of times, and I just know that those deer that you settle with, that they're only going to get bigger if you can incubate them and leave them alone. So it was hard psychologically to just hold to my guns, and I kept, I'm an eternally optimistic person, so every morning I go in there thinking today it's going to happen. But when the season ended, I never harvested a muley or an elk. I did kill a great buck in Wyoming in September. I drew a really good tag there, a rifle tag, and I paid the $30 for the archery voucher to go in a month early. And I was able to kill a great big buck on film, self-filmed. It's by far, to me, the best film I've ever been able to compile. It worked out perfect. I had a bachelor herd of deer, and he just fed right to me, and I was in a boulder pile, and I had multiple cameras set up, and I got the kill shot on film, and then the buck expiring. He ran right back towards me. He was 10 yards away, and I watched him expire and struggle as his comrades kind of watched their buddy, depart. It was sombering, it was reverent, it was emotional, it was epic. It was by far the greatest experience. So the year was bittersweet in that the overall picture of it was very unsuccessful, very much a grind. But I did come up with the gem of my hunting career, and by far the best film I've ever been able to capture. So, my motivation going forward to 2016 is just to keep grinding. It's going to be easy to top this year because I had such a bad year. So that's the good thing is I had a horrible year, so next year can only get better. I'm going to settle down financially and hopefully have some good tags. I've got a lot of points built up in multiple states, and I'm in that point now where I'm going to start drawing some premium tags, a couple per year. So maybe Utah deer and then Nevada deer I should be able to pull. I've got 10 to 15 points in those two states, and try to kill a big bull elk this year in New Mexico again. Just put in for the tags and keep my fingers crossed. I definitely am applying for ibex in New Mexico. I will always do that. I'll scrape the money up for that tag because that was a life-changing hunt, and I want to get back there more than anything to wrap that up while I still got legs under me, because it might take me another 30 years to kill a big billy. But that's the plan for 16.
Right on. Well, it sounds good. It sounds like you're in the right mindset, and it's funny how sometimes the worst year as far as trophy photos and what others perceive as success sometimes and most of the time make you stronger, and you get to sit back and reflect about what's important and what have you. And it's one of those things, you got to judge, in my opinion, you've got to judge your hunting and your success yourself. And this isn't a game where it's so easy to compare, what I shot this year to what somebody else shot. And, it's unfortunate, but it seems as though our society, our hunting group and what have you, it's all about, it's all about the kill. It's all about, the trophy photo and what have you. And, I'm not going to lie and say I don't get caught up in it myself, but it's one of those things that, you just got to keep plowing. You got to keep trying. You got to keep grinding, like you said. Do you have any thoughts on that subject?
No, I actually couldn't agree more. I think just men in general, especially hunters, we're all kind of alpha, kind of type A personality, provider, protector, sheepdogs, and we're naturally competitive. And unfortunately, a byproduct of that is we're going to compare ourselves to our peers. And like you said, we all fall into that trap of whether you're envying or whether you're discrediting the success of another. It's so critical as a group of, not to sound cliche, but brothers. We are all sharing in a passion, and your success in the field does not directly affect or negatively, affect me and my success. There's an unlimited supply of and wealth of the wildlife out there. There's trophies for all to share, and again, it's in the eye of the beholder. I just feel like we as hunters have to recognize quickly that we're all on the same page. We're all fighting for the same goal, and as long as we're both smiling, doing whatever we do that makes us happy, that's the ultimate goal. And we need to celebrate that. And we need to support each other, and especially publicly, just refrain from criticizing and bashing and questioning and undercutting. And it's just so natural for us. I mean, humans just have natural tendencies that are they're so bizarre, that we're prompted to be that way, but we just have to overcome it, because in the end of the day, it doesn't benefit anyone, and it just breeds some tension, and we don't need that. We've got plenty of opposition out there. We need to work together. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You said it very nicely, and I appreciate that. I want to switch gears a little bit. You're really big into fitness, and one question I would ask you is, do you see any downside to someone being too fit?
Man, I'm thinking about your question in a way. I really don't. The only thing I can say is I think you can have too much muscle, but I'm actually just coming off on a tangent from your question. To me, fit means adequately or apt for a specific performance. Like, to be fit as a bodybuilder, you want to be as big and as lean as possible. To be fit as an endurance athlete, you want to be as lean and, have the best lung and cardiovascular capacity. So it's all relative. As a hunter, I think, you don't want to be too buff and you don't want to be too thin. You need to be strong to carry a pack. You also need to have a relative low body mass index, because the more you weigh, the more you need to eat, drink, hydrate, rest. You've got to find that endurance, that hybrid of endurance and strength and agility and quickness. And so too fit to me, if you're trying to be a hunter, no, absolutely not. First of all, you can never get there. It's impossible. It's a mirage. You're always going to be able to improve in some way or another. But I do feel that a hunter has a specific objective as fitness is related to the, like I said, a balance of strength, endurance, and also staying athletic and fit, where you're not too big, too small, but just that right, mix for the hunts and the types of hunts that you're going to engage in. Obviously, an ibex hunt is going to require a lot different muscles and endurance requisites than an elk run and gun archery elk hunt would take, or a high country mule deer hunt. They're all different in their own way. So I think you need to train.
How do you balance that, Zach? How do you balance the strength portion of it with the endurance portion of it, and how in your own personal regimen do you find that balance? Is it kind of trial and error, or do you know right where you need to be as far as weight and what have you to be at your maximum capacity?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is yes to both questions. It is trial and error to figure out what your body performs at optimally on the mountain. And so for me, it's taking, I've lifted weights religiously for almost 20 years. I'm almost 35, and I'm very analytical about my results and my nutrition and my output, and I'm very interested in how my gains work, and as far as my strength production and my endurance, all those things. So as a hunter, I do high reps, 10 to 15 to 20 reps, 4 sets, almost all my lifts. I don't ever strain myself. I'm always looking for form and function first. I don't use momentum. It's all controlled, isolated movements that are going to tone and especially build the muscles that I want. I do legs twice a week with compound lifts like deadlifts and squats and all of the functional muscle groups that are going to help me as a hunter, whether I'm hiking or carrying a backpack or pulling an elk quarter off the ground. All of these lifts, they work aesthetically. I've done some bodybuilding competitions, and I think it's a nice goal for you to set to tone up and get to an aesthetic objective. But at the same time, if you get lean and you're functional, then it's going to correlate directly to your success on the mountain, because looking good and being fit are kind of synonymous. I mean, obviously you can take it to extremes when you're doing a contest and by dehydrating yourself and getting your body fat to unhealthy levels. But I mean, in general, being a leaner, lighter, fitter athlete is going to be better for you or me in general. I probably should only speak for myself, because obviously my conditions are different than others, but that's where I want to be. So it's high reps, it's cardio, 4 days a week. And as I hunt during the fall, I do less cardio because my days on the mountain count, and I naturally will lose weight from August until November, December. I usually lose about 10 pounds, and a lot of it is muscle, just because I'm hiking so hard and I'm exerting so much. But as I do that, I'm just toning and getting stronger, and my lungs are increasing. I've not been able to replicate a mountain environment in a gym. I don't care how much time you spend on a treadmill or stair climber. You throw a backpack on and go up a high alpine slope, you're going to be challenged. It's going to push you beyond what you could ever replicate in a gym. So nothing's better than just mountain application, but preparation can get you a nice foundation before you hit the hills.
Yeah, that sounds like good stuff. Is there a time when you talked about there's a time when you lose 10 pounds during the actual heat of the fall season? Are you able to lift at all, or are you doing push-ups, sit-ups? Are you doing anything during those hunts, or do you just go hunt?
Well, great question. I've heard, and I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that 7 days out of the gym, your body will start to get catabolic and start to shrink. So if I'm hunting more than 7 days, then yes, out in the field, I will try to incorporate any type of pull-ups, push-ups, anything just to stimulate my muscles and keep them aware and awake that, hey, we're not like retiring from this, we're just taking a short break. But with my career and family, I don't really have a lot of those long hunts. Most of my hunts are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, weekend blitzes and things like that. So when I'm in the field, I don't need to train. When I'm home, I train every day. So I don't stop my training when I'm during hunting season. It's just I only train when I'm home on the days that I can. In the field, I never do, because I want to save all my energy, all my juju, if you will, for the conditions that might present themselves, throughout the hunt. Because ultimately, I'm preparing for that moment of the hunt, so that's the priority. The training is secondary or supplemental to the goal of train to perform. So I'm saving that for that moment when I might have to run and haul butt up the ridge, or get across the canyon in a half an hour, or whatever it takes. So.
Zac, what food do you take with you on your hunts? Because obviously, a lot of people, when they go on their hunts, even if they eat healthy at home, they seem to eat junk food on the mountain. What
Sure.
do you eat on these hunts to keep your body in tune with your normal routine?
Whether you are interested in elk, deer, antelope, bighorn sheep, or moose, Western Hunter and Elk Hunter magazines will bring the adventure to your mailbox. These publications feature articles on the finest hunting gear, tips and tactics from experienced hunters, field judging trophies, glassing techniques, calling strategies, and much more. To become a more knowledgeable and skilled hunter, subscribe today. Go to westernhunter.net/jscott and enter your email address for a chance to win a $1,500 credit towards any Swarovski product. Have you guys heard about PhoneScope? PhoneScope is a privately held company that makes custom molded, precisely engineered smartphone digiscoping adapters. Photographing wildlife has never been easier. Take digiscoping photos and videos from your smartphone and share them with your friends. PhoneScope stands behind their product with a 100% money-back guarantee. PhoneScope is the future of digiscoping. Get yours now. Use the JScott16 promo code and receive 10% discount on all purchases. Check them out at PhoneScope, that's PhoneSkope.com, or on Instagram at PhoneScope.
Well, the first thing I feel is critical is just hydration. I never drink less than a gallon a day, and usually 2. And it's tough in high country scenarios because that means a lot of times ascending and descending and getting water and filtering it, bringing it back up. But I just drink so much water that I'm never thirsty. I hate being thirsty, so the water is critical. I don't cut water. I don't adjust it. I'll carry gallons up if I need to, because I know I will want them, especially in those high country August and September hunts. As far as nutrition goes, again, I'm training and preparing for performance on the mountain. A huge part of performance is being properly fueled to do so. So I don't weigh my backpacks. I take the food that I know I will need. I don't skimp on anything. If I feel it's going to benefit me on the mountain, then I'll throw it in my pack and I'm going to carry it in there. Typically on the mountain itself, I eat a lot of complex carbohydrates, mainly oats. They're very lightweight. I can cook them with a jet boil almost instantly. They're an awesome energy source. They're long burning complex carbohydrates, so they last 4 to 6 hours. They're very filling. I think they taste good. One of the little tricks I have when I don't have a jet boil is I put 2 scoops of whey protein, usually vanilla or chocolate flavored, so about 50 grams of protein, and then I use a cup of oats. and they're just raw rolled oats, and I'll just mix them with the protein and then add 8 ounces of water. It might sound disgusting, but it's actually very good. It makes almost like a pudding with like a granola texture in it, and I leave it in a Ziploc. So there's two scoops of protein, a cup of oats in a Ziploc bag, and then you just add water, zip it up, mix it together, and then I'll just cut the corner off the bag and just squeeze it. And it makes a really good little, 500 calorie meal. And I can pack those around. They don't weigh anything. You add the water. That's where the weight comes from. And you can keep the calories really high that way. Obviously, when I get home, I eat normal food again. But on the mountain, I definitely keep it simple. Obviously, I can't keep stuff cold, so I limit all the perishable items. It's usually just dry oats and protein and a lot of different like Cliff bars and things like that. But I'm very conscious about carbohydrates as well. Like if I'm sitting behind the glass all day long, and I don't hike or move at all, I know I'm not expending a lot of energy, therefore I probably don't need a lot of carbohydrates to fuel that, so I might cut back on the carbs and just eat more of the protein bars and the nuts and the healthy fats to kind of just satiate my appetite and keep my calories up. But, when I do run and gun and I move and I'm packing up and down, then I start supplement with carbohydrates to refuel the muscles and replace glycogen and be ready for tomorrow. And that's stuff it's kind of complicated to a lot of guys. It sounds, over the top, but if you train a lot, and that's one of the huge advantages of training in the preseason, is you'll learn how your body reacts to certain foods and how you perform better by taking certain foods in before, after, and during the exercise. And so I feel like a huge part of preparation is just knowing your body and what it will need to get it done on the mountain. And that's why when it all shows up, when September comes, you're ready to rip, and not just physically, but you're prepared with your gear, your food, your supplements, your waters, all those things, because you know what your body's going to need.
What meats do you eat, Zach?
As much wild game as I can. I'm a terrible hunter, so that's not always in the abundance. Especially this year, I'm actually humiliated to say that I'm asking friends for meat. So I'm becoming a vegetarian really quickly. So, it's hilarious. But I just relish. I love wild game. I love it. I love every ounce of it. How will
you cook it? What's your favorite preparation like on steaks?
Grill,
or what?
Always.
Okay.
Yep. I'll barbecue everything. I just barbecue it, put some no salt seasoning on it, or just some sea salt. I don't know what it is. I don't even really need to season meat. I love the taste of it. I just love elk and deer and back straps and rump roasts or anything I can. I just break them down. I trim the fat and I go to town several times a day usually. If I run out, I eat lean protein sources. I use much fish and salmon and chicken breasts and egg whites that I can. I take protein supplements like whey isolate and those types of things for workout. The key is I am very regimented with my diet. So I weigh my food. I weigh even my meat portions. And I've learned to eyeball it a lot. So there's, I'm not super psycho about it, but I like to eat to a point where I'm full, fueled, but not overwhelmed or uncomfortable, because it's easy to eat too much, and that's not a good thing if you're going to be training every day or hiking every day or hunting. So as I get older, I'm just kind of dialing myself in and my needs. And unfortunately, when guys call and ask for a cookie cutter diet or some cookie cutter advice, there isn't any. You just got to get out there and train and try all these, basic principles that you're taught in nutrition and see how your body reacts to certain things, and know what it takes to fuel yourself and what it takes to feed yourself on a mountain for 3 or 4 days. And the only way to do that is to get out there and try it and be uncomfortable and adapt and learn and adjust. And the more you do it, the better you'll be prepared and the better hunter you'll become as a result.
Do you ever eat fast food? That's one question. And number 2 is when you're either during hunting season or in the off season, whatever, if your family wants to go out to dinner or what have you, how do you handle going out to dinner? Because I know my wife cooks very, very nutritiously for me here at home, but it's somewhat of a challenge to go anywhere to eat out. Yeah,
it is. It's tough. For one, I'm very frugal, so I I don't like to go out a lot because I feel it's a waste of money, because I'm saying that I can make a fillet at home for $7. Why am I paying 40 for it at Ruth's Chris or Mastro's or whatever? So that's one thing for me is I don't eat out a ton. When I do eat out, I actually do have cheat meals. I usually plan 1 or 2 a week where I'll just say, hey, I'm going to eat whatever I want. It's in moderation, of course. I don't just throw down a large pizza by myself or whatever. But I feel like your body, especially if you're eating 6 good meals a day and you're metabolizing your food properly and you're training and you're active and you're maintaining or even reducing your body weight, to throw in a couple cheat meals or just throw variations into your diet, it's a good thing for your psyche, for your emotions, and also for your body, because your body is very smart and it becomes accustomed to certain habits. And if you're feeding it the exact amount every day, it's going to adjust its metabolism and back off and start to store fat, because naturally we're always preparing for famine, because our survival instinct is going to say, store as much fat as possible for the down times. Where one of the tricks to offsetting that is to spike your nutrition here and there and throw highs and lows of caloric intake into that. It kind of keeps your mind and your body and your metabolism guessing. And I think cheat meals are a great way to do that. So fast food's not a huge thing to me, but I do enjoy going out to a really good restaurant, when I can justify the expense or whatever, and just having a really good dinner, whether it's pizza or just a gourmet hamburger or a great big steak or something I normally wouldn't eat. Absolutely. And I definitely plan it. My family's annoyed. They'll say, hey, are you going to do a cheat meal this week? Like, what day do you want to go out? So it is kind of weird that way, but I've just learned, a bad meal is not going to break the bank. You can survive. And I definitely don't want to ever offend or hurt someone's feelings by turning down a treat or something in a family function. So I've learned to just kind of adapt and just bite the bullet, if you will, realizing that I'm still going to work out tomorrow and I'm not going to die as a result. So the main thing is just loosen up about it. Stick to your regimen when you can control it. When you can't, those things are always going to come in. Keep it in moderation. Don't binge too much, but just enjoy food and get back on track as soon as you can.
Do you ever just throw down on a double cheeseburger or a Frosty or a Dairy Queen or something? Do you ever just go completely AWOL?
Yeah, sure. And it's actually fun for me to do it because, first of all, it usually makes me sick because my body's so used to just such clean food that I can. The one problem with me is I eat a lot of food, so it's clean food. Like the quantity and the caloric value is high. So I can eat a large pizza in one sitting, no problem, and I can drink a milkshake that's a XL and want 2 of them. So yeah, I definitely do it. And then, I'm reminded an hour later why I don't eat those every day because I feel like crap. But I absolutely enjoy it.
Your body just totally rejects it then because it's so used to eating good that it just totally goes haywire.
Yeah, especially sweets. It's not so much like a hamburger, I think, because if you break down the composition of a burger, it's still just a few carbohydrate servings of high fatty red meat. Well, I eat a lot of carbohydrates and eat a lot of red meat, so I think my body can say, oh, well, that's bread. Let's break it down. That's meat. Yeah, it's fatty, and you're going to feel a little bit crappy, but we can still process it. When I drink a milkshake, or my big thing is carrot cake, anything with high sugar, that's what throws me way off because I don't touch sugar on a day-to-day. I'm very whole foods, very basic, fundamental foods. I don't add sugars or sweeten anything. So when I eat a piece of carrot cake, it puts me into like a sugar coma. So it's actually pretty funny, but I love it and I crave it. And about once or twice a month, I'll run over to Kneaders and buy a slice and throw down and just walk out just going, what the heck was that? Like it's hilarious.
That's awesome. I noticed one of your videos you were wearing a shirt that said bow hunting sucks, and I wanted to ask you about that. I listened to your video and watched it, and I would encourage people to do that. Obviously, I'm sure you've gotten some feedback from the shirt. You've probably sold a lot of shirts too. Zac's also selling shirts on his website, so go check it out. But talk to me about bow hunting sucks and what prompted that.
So the bow hunting sucks thing, I've actually been thinking about doing that motto or that film for a long time because, my friends and I, the more even in the desert, and this, I mean, I've gone backpacking out in the Kofas, and I've gone backpacking way out in those sheep flats and looked for deer, and I've hiked 3 days before I've not seen the buck. And I come back to my truck and I throw my backpack down, and I realize it all starts to resonate. I'm a moron. I just spent 3 days chasing nothing. I didn't see an animal. I never knocked an arrow. I never shot an arrow. Like, this sucks. This isn't fun. But sure enough, the next weekend, I'm packing up, heading out to the next draw over to go check that other basin, because we're all driven to do it, and we're insane in the sense that we hate it, but we love it, and we keep doing it. And I tell you that the more I spot and stalk hunt on public land with these average over-the-counter tags, the more I fail, the more I struggle, the more I resent it, the more I not regret it, but just come back shaking my head saying, why am I doing this? But at the same time, the more I want it, the more I'm motivated to improve my skill set, the more I'm motivated to improve my physical capacity to stay out longer, to go further, to hunt harder. And so the more I fail, the more I want it. And so it's almost like the two are synergizing. The more bow hunting sucks, the better I become as a bow hunter. And my favorite part about the bow hunting sucks phrase is, I work with Hoyt Archery. I'm sponsored by them. I mean, obviously it's a play on words. I'm a passionate bow hunter. I love bow hunting. What I'm saying is, bow hunting most of the time is a pain in the butt. It's tough, and nothing in life that's of any value or consequence that I know of isn't tough, isn't hard. That's the whole point. There has to be a contrast. There has to be sacrifice, or there has to be pain to recognize the pleasure. And bow hunting is a perfect example of that. It's a perfect metaphor in the sense that it's so hard that when you do finally connect, when the arrow finally hits the spot and you're able to stroke those horns and you're able to realize what has just taken place, it's the greatest sport on earth, because only the lowest of lows could facilitate the highest of high. And it's that contrast, it's that jump. And I'm telling you, and I say that religiously, that bow hunting, the more it sucks, the more excited I get, because I know when it happens, it's going to be that much more of a climax, because it's the net adjustment that's going to affect my emotions, and the higher I get, the better I feel. So this season, as bad as it was, like I said earlier, every morning I'd wake up saying, man, this has been a crappy year, man. It's going to happen today, and I am going to scream through the roof. Well, the next day I just kept that mindset, and it never came together. So I'm assuming in August, when this finally happens, I'm going to probably have a heart attack and die, because I've been down for so long. So it's just to me, it just sums it up. And I love the T-shirt. It sparks conversation. It gets guys talking. And I still have guys to this day that are resistant, and they won't say it, because they say I'm stupid, or you're not a real bow hunter. How could you say that? Bow hunting is the greatest sport. I don't know if they're not picking up on the sarcasm, if they're not actually watching the videos, of hearing the numerous explanations I've thrown out there about it, but it's just literally, it's a pain in the butt, but it's the best sport on earth because of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I would almost take that a whole another step further, in the fact that you could say trophy hunting sucks. And here on my podcast, we've talked a lot about hunting for the love of hunting, and we've talked a lot about trophy hunting and both aspects of both styles. And I've said before, I'm a trophy hunter, and people, sometimes it gets mixed reaction, but it's that same thing of, I'm willing to go out and go out and go out and go out and look at bucks and look at rams and look at, bull elk, and, try and discriminate and try and find, the oldest, the biggest, the widest, whatever it may be. And, I think everybody has their own right to go out and do, hunt and do our sport and participate in our sport and enjoy it for all the different things. But I think, the same thing, trophy hunting sucks. I mean, how many days do you go out over and over and over and not find the quality of animal that you want to harvest? And, there's people that don't like trophy hunting, and that's fine. There's people that don't like bow hunting, and that's fine. And it's not for everybody, but it's not easy.
No.
And, and I'm not talking about the, trophy hunting, quote unquote, that, is, high fenced or any of that stuff. I'm talking about, discriminating, and that even it sounds like a negative connotation, but being selective, I think is the best word, and trying to, figure out how can I push myself to try and find the most mature, the best animal out there to harvest. And, if I was just out there strictly just going to go hunt for the joy of hunting, which I do, I turkey hunt a lot, and I never, I shouldn't say never, but I don't judge the success of the turkey hunt on the length of the beard, the length of the spurs, how much the bird weighs. I judge it on, is the bird gobbling? Is he strutting? How good of a show is he, coming in like a crazy man, strutting all around. I mean, to me, that's awesome. But then also, being able to, find the best ram in the unit, or look for the biggest buck, or try and find a buck bigger than one I've already killed, or, I think it's not easy. And sometimes the easy thing to do is, shoot the first thing you see, and, yes, the hunt's a success, and yes, you enjoyed it, so great. But do you have any thoughts on trophy hunting?
No, you nailed it. You summed it up perfectly. It's selective. It's you have to predetermine, you have to commit in advance that I'm going on this hunt with the idea that I'm killing a buck that I've scouted, that I know is in there. Nothing else will settle. I won't settle or accept anything but him, whether it's a ram or a big bull or whatever. And a lot of good hunters go, with the tag, go home with eating the tag as a result. And I think that's the hardest part, is to, a lot of guys calibrate success on, did you kill one? And I think as a bow hunter, and we're all at different levels and we all have different goals and aspirations, but to me, my goal and my aspiration is to graduate from notching a tag to harvesting the premier or top specimen in the unit or in the conditions I'm presented. And so, I've learned many times that eating a tag is not a big deal. It's tough when you get home and family and friends and those that are, I don't want to say ignorant, but maybe just not trophy hunters and don't have our mentality. They'll scratch their head and say, you didn't even kill one? You were there for 7 days? Or for me in 2013 hunting ibex, I was there for 40 days and didn't kill one. And I used to get defensive and roll my eyes and start an argument, and now I just laugh. And they basically, the subtitles beneath their face say, I don't understand trophy hunting, or what you mean by trophy hunting, therefore don't continue this conversation.
Yeah, or you're an idiot. Yeah, you're an idiot. I don't want to hear it. Yeah, exactly. And let's also point out the fact that, there are some hunts that just harvesting an animal is a feat in itself. So, I don't want to sit here and say that, there's every hunt that I would be completely selective. I mean, there are certainly hunts that just harvesting, an animal on that hunt is a feat in its own right. So,
I completely agree.
Awesome stuff there. We're about ready to head down to Mexico for the coues deer season. Dar and I are going to be down there for a couple weeks here in mid-January trying to capture the peak of the rut. I know you, growing up as a mule deer hunter, you got your taste of a couple of coues deer hunts, and once you saw a mature coues deer, did your opinion of those deer change? And if so, how did it change, and what do you think about them?
Since 1982, the Outdoorsman's in Phoenix has made it their goal to provide the very best customer service combined with the latest and greatest optics and accessories in the business. Outdoorsman's is the leading designer and manufacturer of high-quality tripods and mounting accessories for any hunter's optical needs. Go to outdoorsmans.com or call 1-800-291-8065 and use the J. Scott promo code until February 28th to receive 10% off all Outdoorsman's packs and pack accessories. Utah Hydrographics is in the water transfer printing service, and they are open to whatever you can dream up. Choose from a wide range of camo patterns, designs, and colors. Whether it's guns, bows, tools, rifle stocks, vehicles, steering wheels, fenders, dashboards, paint guns, fishing rods, cups, tripods, watches, knife grips, helmets for a local sports team or for your motorcycle, picture frames, mailbox, animal skulls, you name it, they can probably do it. Utah Hydrographics loves taking things that are general looking and turns them into something that looks fantastic and eye-popping. Give them a call and see what they can do for you and receive up to a 10% discount by using the JScott16 promo code. Visit them at utahhydrographics.com or on Instagram at Utah Hydrographics.
Oh, absolutely. They are badass. I can't give you a better phrase than a big, gnarly Roman-nosed coues deer. The character, the mass, the way they strut, the challenge of finding them and staying on them. I mean, I love watching you and Dar's hunts when you glass these bucks up from a mile and a half away and then you just disappear. I mean, we couldn't find them again that day or whatever. As a mule deer hunter up here, I just scratch my head like, what do you mean you couldn't find them? Well, when you start hunting the desert, you realize how thick the cat claw is and the brush and how, they just disappear. And the gray ghost is the most appropriate name ever for them. So everything about the coues deer is it's awesome. They're just absolutely awesome. They're the coolest little critter around. They're petite, but yet they're little trolls, like I said, the character, the mass, the palmation, the non-typical variations you get in them. They're just so unique and so different and you just have to see and experience the whole body of a coues deer hunt to really appreciate what they are. Because I think an eastern whitetail hunter, they're going to look at them and they're not going to get it. You just have to know, to take a big coues deer, you got to be exceptional marksman with a rifle or an unbelievable bow hunter. Even if you're sitting in a ground blind, they are timid. They're very cautious. They're very
you want to talk about a string jumper? Goodness,
they're loaded up and I think I saw it on a Fred Eichler video or something, but someone in the industry had referred to them as basically the reason they're so skittish is every critter on earth tries to kill them. I mean, bobcats and little critters get them. So, I mean, you just imagine a coues deer, they're just getting attacked 24/7, whether it's coyotes or mountain lions or bobcats or, they're just getting hammered. So no wonder they're so spooky. And they are a tiny little ungulate in the desert and they live in harsh conditions. So I just think they're awesome. And one of the things I respect most about you and Dar, I mean, you guys kill giant bulls, which obviously they're impressive to anyone, but your guys' coues deer success is it's unparalleled. It's unreal how well you guys have done. And a lot of that is more than just being a good hunter, but you guys recognize coues deer trophies when you see them. A lot of the deer that I've seen in my life, I misjudged them, and I've learned a lot of scoring techniques from you guys and looking for things you talk about. You'll say, notice his main beams, notice how much he comes around the front. I've learned to hunt coues deer better as a result of your films and footage because I've watched the experts on what characteristics they're picking apart when they select their animal. And it's helped me to become a better coues deer hunter as a result, for sure, because you guys have so much time in the field. I can never replicate your experience, but I can definitely learn from what you're conveying through your film. So.
Well, there's been a lot of trial and error there for sure, and I appreciate all the kind words. Zac, it's been awesome having you on today. I want to give you a chance to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you and watch your content and stuff. So give me a little breakdown, Instagram, Facebook, website, YouTube, etc.
Well, as a narcissistic as it sounds, I just use my name for my website and all my social media because it's easy to remember and it's easy to find. So it's Zac Griffith, ZACGRIFFITH.com is my website, and then all of my social media outlets, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they're all just Zac Griffith _com or just Zac Griffith. So it's pretty easy to find me. I definitely try to crank out as much YouTube content as I can, and that's kind of my media outlet to promote myself and my sponsors and to just share my passion love for the sport, and also just my fitness side of things. I'm extremely passionate about fitness and exercising, and I try to help guys and maybe give you some hunt-centered training advice and other tools to help you just improve your hunts. Because again, the competition is just with yourself. Just improve from yourself day to day. Don't worry about other people, and just go at your pace. So I try. That's my mission. That's my goal. That's my objective, just to kind of spread my passion. And nothing's funner in life than being able to do what you love and sharing it with others. So it's been pretty easy for me.
That's awesome, buddy. Well, I appreciate you being on. I appreciate your passion and your voice for bow hunting and for hunting in general. And keep up the good work. And maybe I'll see you up at the Western Hunting Expo or one of these shows. And look forward to, never officially met you, so I look forward to meeting you. And I appreciate you being on here on the podcast.
No, thanks for the opportunity, and I will see you at the Western Hunting Expo. And again, thanks for the inspiration. You guys were a huge, what do I say, just an example to me on what I wanted to do, and helped me to realize it was possible out there with those critters in the desert. So congrats on your success, and thanks again for the opportunity to be on your show.
Absolutely, buddy. Sounds good. God bless you. I'll catch you later.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the J. Scott Outdoors Western Big Game Hunting and Fishing Podcast, brought to you by GoHunt.com Insider. Use the promo code JScott and receive a $50 coues gift card when signing up for the GoHunt.com Insider. Research faster, hunt more. Go to GoHunt.com Insider and join today.